What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. The trade from last Friday ended up being an absolute banger. In fact, throughout the last week, I think I ended the entire week with like 12 or 13 wins and like 3 and 4 losses or something. So last week, by all accounts, has been amazing. And if you're wondering where all of those extra trades are coming from, they're from Forex or TradFi, all of which I have posted on Twitter. I've not only shared the ideas, I've shared the entries. So if you are getting into Forex or if you're thinking about it, feel free to, follow me on Twitter. That's where I'm going to be posting about it. Or even within this video, like I think starting from now on, I'm just going to, spend a little bit of time talking about Forex and TradFi opportunities. A lot of you that have been already trading for a while, you guys have already started dipping your toes into Forex, especially after the live trading floor event that I did the last time. So one thing's for sure, like there are a bunch of opportunities within Forex. It would be an absolute no-brainer to at least consider getting into it so that you're not left behind, stuck in, crypto, where throughout the entirety of last week, I had maybe 2 trades on Bitcoin, 1 win, 1 loss. Meanwhile, I have 15 other trades on Forex where I managed to make a really solid amount of money. And good news is that I've also recorded a video of, just breaking down last week, sharing some of the trades and sharing some of the lessons that I've learned from there. And like that video should be out sometime Wednesday or Thursday or whenever the editor is able to get it out. But anyways, now let's get into the intraday setup as well as the weekly kind of outlook for Bitcoin. Now, just to kick things off on the weekly chart, we still closed last week bullish. So this week we're still going to be looking for a bullish weekly expansion. Now, is this going to be the absolute determining factor that will, okay, every single day we're going to look for longs? No, that's not how it works. One thing you need to understand about R3 is that this is the weekly open, right? When you are bullish for the week, right? When you're anticipating the week to trade higher, you would look for buy opportunities underneath the weekly open. So anytime price dips below the weekly open, for example, like this, right? With a bullish candle, anytime the price dips below the weekly open, you can look for an opportunity to buy low and then sell high later on. Anytime you go below the weekly open, we're going to be looking for an expansion towards the upside, most likely towards the $80,000 level. Now, is it going to hit $80,000 this week? I don't know, but I can say that that is a reasonable target that we can go for. Now that we come into the daily chart, we can refine that kind of weekly bias into this order block over here, where, okay, if we retrace, right, if we go below the weekly open and we come into this order block starting at $73,000, then it would make pretty good sense for us to take a trade, something like that, all the way up to $80,000, right? That's how you use the weekly bias. I've done it plenty of times. But yeah, I've been consistently posting these videos since 2025, and I've documented all of my trades, wins and losses, and the success rate of these calls. And the weekly bias and just taking advantage of this power of 3 concept is exactly what we use to just maintain a high level of accuracy. For those of you that have joined Blueprint, congratulations. And to those of you that didn't, we have now closed doors. So from this moment forth, I don't think I have anything really to sell you other than like check out Twitter, check out the videos that I'm posting on YouTube, because they're all genuinely valuable. That's at least what I try to do when it comes to creating content. But otherwise, let's go down into the actual daily chart. So far, we're dealing with a bearish daily bias, although keep in mind that bearish candle close from yesterday was Sunday. Right? If you don't know anything about trading, ideally you should not be trading on the weekends. And even when it comes to Mondays, like it tends to be a pretty low probability day, because just like how, I'm going to use an intraday example to kind of make this make sense for you. You have an Asia session, a London session, and a New York session. Most of the time people tend to avoid the Asia session because it's kind of the first session of the day where things are still kind of setting up. And it's much easier to trade London and New York because you already have the data from Asia or London to kind of determine or like drive your decisions later on in the session. And this is very much similar in the sense that Monday is the opening range of the week. It is very hard to predict what kind of like direction Monday is going to have, or like direction aside, it like most of the time on Mondays, the price action could align very beautifully, but it's just not going to play out. But one thing's for sure, keeping in mind that we have a bearish weekly bias and keeping in mind the fact that we have this level that we can take advantage of, I am going to say that, purely also based off of the daily chart, or rather the daily close from yesterday, we're going to be looking for a bearish trade today. Now, secondly, coming back into this order block right now, which means that, again, bearish trade. So we're going to be looking for a trade something like that, right? That's what we're going to target for. And the kind of like key sign that you want to look for is this candle right here. If you get a candle close below 74,200, this is basically currently, this is a bullish order block. If you manage to break lower, you can basically like kind of invalidate that bullish order block, turn it and flip it into a bearish order block and take the trade from there. So that's what I would wait for, but honestly, it's already bearish. Like in terms of the 1 hourly chart, you're already in bearish order flow. So just the fact that you've come back into here and the fact that it is the London session right now means that the moment I get a CISD on the 5-minute chart, which is going to happen there, I can already take a trade. But I assume that by the time you guys watch this, this is going to be a much more relevant level. So that's the one that you guys should go for, and that's the one that I will go for as well. And obviously the target for, you know, today's trade is going to be at $73,000, which is a decent amount of movement for, you know, a Monday, especially on Bitcoin, because, you know, Bitcoin's been acting a lot more like a meme coin, a lot more like a stable coin nowadays, as you guys may or may not know. And we've been getting so much more volatility on Forex that, like, yeah, it might be worthwhile to just focus on Forex. Like, speaking about Forex, we're going to talk about Canadian. And in fact, before I talk about Canadian, because, you know, there is a potential A+ setup there, in the event that you just do not get this scenario that I'm painting out, even though there is a high likelihood that you're going to get that scenario, but in the event that you don't, and somehow you make a 1 hourly candle close above $76,000, that should be a warning sign that tells you that today is going to be just a no trade, right? The thing that I really hope you get through your mind is that I'm not trying to predict what the market is going to do here. I'm never trying to predict the market on any of these daily videos. All I'm trying to do is I'm putting the raw data, right? Price action, putting it through my proven process that has gotten me an 80% win rate over the last 2 years or so. And then by the end of it, if the market decides to if the way price action plays out matches the criteria of our system, we take the trade and chances are we're going to make money out of it. But if not, then we don't take a trade, right? I'm not trying to predict. I am simply mapping out high probability scenarios that are likely to happen and are likely to make you money. And I'm just painting that out. At the end of the day, trading is a game of reading and reacting more so than predicting the markets, right? It's something that a lot of beginners don't understand, but I hope you get that now. That's the situation on Bitcoin. And now that Bitcoin's over, let's get into USD Canadian. This has been one of the, I think this has been the moneymaker for me last week, where you're seeing the full power of the system at play here, where if you take a look at price action, I think I had like 3 wins in a row on like Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And to those of you that are in Blueprint and Bootcamp, you will have known like I called these trades on the spot. So if there are any of you watching that, like feel free to drop it down in the comment section so that free to let me know in the comments down below if you manage to make money on that. But like, this is the power of the system when you get trending conditions. When there is a clear trend and when price is moving, like this is just textbook, such an easy trade, like such an easy time trading. Either way, like not to, you know, get too deep into the successes of last week. So far, we're still dealing with a bearish daily bias. And so far, if you remember exactly how to use the bias, essentially when you're bearish bias, you want to look for sells above the week, or in this case, the daily open. So far, throughout the rest of this day, we have been trading above the daily open. And right now, in about 12 minutes, we're likely going to get some sort of a CISD. So once that CISD gets confirmed, you can also see that price is kind of going back into some sort of hourly PD array over there. So once the CISD gets confirmed, it's as simple as placing a short. And for now, you can take advantage of either that or that. But either way, targeting the previous weekly low would be a target that makes sense. So that would be about 3R. Now, of course, even if this is a high probability setup, there's always going to be a chance where, you know, it just doesn't work out. It's just a game of trading, right? If you have a 50% win rate, you're going to win one, you're going to lose one. Now, I've talked about this extensively before on, you know, my content, but still, key thing here is we have a bearish daily bias coming back into a bearish level, and we have news later, which means that ideal trading time for USD Canadian later, it's going to be around 7:30 to 9:30 a.m. But to be honest, once this happens, like, I'm personally going to try a trade. It may work out, it may not. I don't really care what the individual trade result is. What I just know is that this is a winning setup, and every time I see it, I'm just going to take it. But with that said, I'll see you guys later tonight on X, where hopefully I'll be able to call some trades, or I'll just see you guys in more YouTube videos. Ciao, ciao.